Hello and welcome back to the Five Masters series. I'm Tanya Datta and today I'll be talking to Phillip Ullmann, a social entrepreneur and the founder of the Covenant Advisory, about his idea to resolve the UK's scandalous inequality through the transformative power of covenant. We're also joined by Lord Glasman, a political theorist and a Labour peer, and the architect of the Blue Labour movement, and someone who's written extensively about the need for a covenantal approach to restore social cohesion in our deeply fractured times. Before we get cracking into our conversation, which I'm really looking forward to, I thought we could do with a bit of a recap about what the covenant is, because, otherwise people won't get the rest of the conversation. So if I start off and just jump in where you need to, because you're the experts, I have understood it to be an ancient form of pledge between parties that dates back to biblical times, and in fact is actually found in the Bible. And it would translate these days to, we would say, having an understanding. And which is, I thought, quite funny because it seems to be based on relationships and doing good for the purpose of the common good coming together. And it's explicitly not a legal contract. How am I doing?
Doing very well. Very well indeed. And that's
Great.
very good.
Anything else you want to add to that?
No, I think that's a fairly good summary. I think that in terms of the key components, I think you got them right.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say that it's not so hard. I mean, we live in a covenantal kingdom. I mean, we've just had the coronation last week, and that is something inherited from the past that binds us. Parliament. People got a bit upset when, Henry VIII's laws were suddenly, but it reminded us that we're bound by the laws through generations.
So you call that a sort of covenantal government, do you?
Yeah, we're not born and then enter into a contractual agreement that we're going to obey these laws. We inherit them, and we can change them. That's the incredibly important thing with
and we have this innate respect for them.
Yeah, and so you can change the law through Parliament, through democratic elections, and that itself is binding. Then we've got we've had the National Health Service since 1948. That's a part of a covenantal inheritance where people in Britain agree that we shouldn't have to pay for healthcare individually, and nobody who's poor should be excluded from it. So what I'm saying is that the covenantal ideas are really strong in our politics. We understand that, but it's just in the economy it's very contractual, and that's led to this contractualization.
And let me give you an example. The best way, I'm an engineer and I work with practical examples. So the way our law deals with borrowing is very contractual. The I owe you money. You can charge me interest, which is extractive. You can actually take my house if I can't repay it. That's very healthy for relationships. Of course, that's damaging relationships, and that's fundamental to our society. Whereas in a covenantal model, the law will protect the relationship. So the law will be there to ensure that the person has a home where he can live with his family or her family, where they can build the household, entertain, look after other people within the community. And it's building a relationship without the worry of being repossessed, without the worry of having to pay interest. And this is very big at the moment. Many people I know are suffering mentally from the stress of what's going to happen with interest rates. And not many people can afford mortgages. And what I have to say is there's actually a very positive and hopeful way through it. But at the moment, the world we live in is very contractual and very extractive.
And of course, there is an example of covenant being used in our everyday modern lives in the form of marriage or committed relationships, which are, we've discussed that before.
Absolutely right. Yeah, it's we have to build from trust. And if you're in a contract, you don't trust the other party. In a contract, you have a load of clauses which deal with all the different scenarios. And it's the reason it's there with penalty clauses, because you don't trust each other in a covenant. As you say, with your wife or partner, you actually build trust. And that's the only way to build a society. You've got to start with that trust. If you haven't got that trust, all the relationships are brittle, and we're in trouble.
Yeah. And another way of understanding covenant would be football. I mean, most football fans inherit, often from their dad, their commitment to the club. It's absolutely not open to negotiation. And yet the football clubs themselves have become this rapacious, greedy, commercialized units extracting as much profit as they can. And that's just another good way of understanding the tension between contract and covenant.
So interesting, yes. Yeah.
Come on, you Spurs. Yeah.
Always stepping on dangerous ground there, isn't he?
No, but
Two Arsenal
Spurs is a
fans
very
here.
good example of
Yeah.
how a covenantal relationship has become contractualized. I mean, at the moment, the club is stupendous about revenue raising. We've got underground go-karting at the stadium. Beyonce does her concerts there. But unfortunately, we haven't got a first-team manager. We haven't got a director of football who was found to be an international criminal. There's no embodiment of the internal football good in the club. So you can see that a covenantal relationship between fans and club has been shattered by contractual relationships, in which Daniel Levy just says, but we're making a profit. And we all say, and we don't care.
And people have felt that
They
over the
feel
years.
it.
They have felt that this corporatization of sport.
Oh,
over the
Manchester
last 20 years.
United fans really feel that intensely. Huge, because what the club becomes for those who run it is a profit-making entity. But for those who support it, it's an intergenerational devotion. And that's been really smashed and shattered.